Well, we're still on the strategy of becoming an effective and persuasive communicator. Remember, Proverbs says, a wise man or woman trains his mouth and adds persuasiveness to his lips. Now, it's interesting that training of the mouth isn't what you think it is. It's the word for bridle, bridling the mouth. In other words, keeping it shut. Why? We learn more when we listen than when we speak. And part of effective communication, as you're going to see, is learning to effectively listen to the other person, to their needs and so on. Okay, now I found an additional kind of a definition of persuasion that I really like, and I'm going to repeat this because I didn't cover this last time. It says, all this is stuff I wrote in my books. So I'm cheating now because I haven't done a presentation on this for about 4 years ago, I think it was. So persuasion is the art of guiding one's mind through a field, now this is really cool, through a field of ignorance, misinformation, and misunderstanding. Okay? When you start a communication, chances are the person already has ignorance, they don't know what you're talking about, or they have a misunderstanding. And persuasion is using effective communication to really guide them kind of through a swamp and getting them safely through the swamp, past the gators, past the quicksand, and so on, to a destination where there is enough information and understanding to make a good logical choice to do that which is in their best interest, okay? So that I really like that. Okay, now, the foundation of effective and persuasive communication. Remember, foundations aren't attractive. They're gray cement, usually filling up a big hole, and they're ugly. You can't, no, I don't think anybody ever bought a house looking at a foundation, right? But they're critical to building a stable house. So the walls won't crack, the roof will stay on, floors won't crack, and so on. You've got to have a good foundation. So 3 principles. Number 1, honoring and respecting the people that you wish to persuade. Honoring and respecting. Honor is a critical talent, and we're going to get into some of the things we can do to honor people. Of course, 1 is to listen. Most communication, about 80% of our communication is nonverbal. So you've got to learn good nonverbal cues. It's very dishonoring when a person's talking to you and you're supposed to be listening. This is part of the foundation. Is first thing you've got to do is listen. Why? You want to know their frame of reference. You don't want to debate it. You don't want to go, I can't believe you think that. That's so stupid. Okay, that's not honoring. And they'll clam up. They'll stop talking. When they stop talking, you stop learning. So they stop talking, you stop learning. The listening phase is where you really want to collect all the information you can so you get to know that person and know what is important to them, because that's going to be critical to what you end up communicating to them. So honoring and respecting. We dishonor a person when we do this. They're talking, we go, okay, what does that say? That says, how much longer are you going to go? Or we go like this, looking at our watch. That says, gosh, this is going forever, right? Very dishonoring. This is a good one. Rolling the eyes, you know, or shaking the head. This is not very honoring. That says, yeah, you're talking, but I really don't care about what you're saying. I'm not even listening, so I'm just going to go, yeah, like I'm paying attention. That's dishonoring. You honor a person when you show attention, lean into them, you lean forward, you look at them in the eye, and you question. If a person's telling me how they feel, it's not rude to say, wait a minute, I want to make sure I heard you right. As I'm hearing you, what you're really saying, and in fact, I'm going to write it down, it's so important. is that you want to do this, but what you want to avoid is that. Is that right? And a lot of times the person, oh man, you got it. Or they may say, well, it's almost right. What I'm really saying is such and such. So then you can write that down, okay? Whenever you write down something based on what the other person is saying, you're honoring them. Why? Because if you're writing it down, it must be important. One of my mentors, he was a genius. He was a mathematical genius. He had a photographic memory. He started a little tiny company at his kitchen table and very quickly grew it into, in today's dollars, a multi-billion-dollar company. Brilliant man. And he always carried 3x5 cards. He always was wearing a suit, but he always had 3x5 cards in his shirt pocket, and then he had them on the inside pocket of his jacket. And I mean, I don't think I ever talked more than 3 minutes to the guy where he didn't go, put up his hand like that, just put up the finger, pull out a note card, write it down, and they'd say, oh, what else are you saying about that? And I'd say something and he'd write that down. Then he would put it into a different pocket. And then I'd go on and talk, and oh, he'd pull out another one. Man, if I got him to pull out 3 cards, I knew he was really going to be with me. And I was a peon in his company. I was a little tiny nothing. And yet he would take notes on what I'm saying. And it always made me feel so honored. So taking notes is always a good way to convey honor. Okay, number 2 is we're going to gain an understanding of their frame of reference. And not only from our due diligence, what we learn about them, but asking them questions. And knowing what questions you're going to ask before you go into that situation. Number 3, you're going to use some very specific skills and techniques that we're going to teach you. You cannot be an effective communicator without any of those 3. Now let's talk about, for a minute, just the approach of honor. What are we going to include in that? Number 1 is timing, okay? We're not all on the same schedule. Whenever I call a person, and I'm calling them kind of out of the blue, one of the first questions I ask is now a good time to talk? Or do you have 5 minutes now, or would you rather me schedule a call a little later? But the first thing I pay attention to is the timing. And if they say, you know what, a little later would be better, great. Today, tomorrow, when would be good for you? How about tomorrow? Maybe right after lunch. How about 1 o'clock? The person may say that. And then I say, great, I'll call you at 1. And if they say, how much time is this going to take? I can say, well, you can get the short version in 3 minutes, or if you're really interested, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So I want it to be about them, not about me. Now, come on, it's only going to take 3 minutes. Can't we talk now? See, that's not paying attention to their time. So the first thing we want to do in an approach of honor, we want to be considerate of the other person's timing. Number 2, we want to be a listener. We might say something like, if I could show you something that would really boost your immune system today, and man, if there was a time we want a supercharged immune system, now is the time. If I could show you something you could do, it'd take you 60 seconds twice a day. But in doing that, we're really going to enhance your immune system. We're going to increase how fast your T cells reproduce in response to a virus or a bacteria that enters your body. Would you like to know what that is? If they say no, well, then I barked up the wrong tree. But anyway, listening, or how important to you is your immune system right now? On a 1 to 10, is it a 3, a 5, a 10? Zip the lip and listen. Listening always honors, especially active listening. Okay, when we're listening, we want to respond and we want to validate what the other person says. That's really important. Instead of shrugging off, if they said, for example, I'm interested in my immune system, but let me just tell you, I don't believe in vitamins. Now we don't say, are you nuts? Don't you know Linus Pauling received the Nobel Prize for his work with vitamin C? No, we don't say something like that. You say, man, I can see why you'd say that. In fact, I think probably, honestly, most vitamin supplements are a waste of money. I was approached one time by a brilliant man, and he was going to tell me about this product he had. And I said, what is it? And he said, it's a supplement. This goes back years. And I instantly said, not interested. And he said, why? And I said, as far as I'm concerned, all they do is create expensive urine. They take light yellow urine and turn it into bright yellow urine. And the guy got me. You know how he got me? He didn't say, that is one of the dumbest comments I've ever heard. Instead, he said, wow, I can understand why you said that. He said, you know, I think that's true of most things, but this is really different. Now he has me. I said, how is it different? He said, number one, it can actually be quantified. It can be measured in your blood, what it does. Number two, it's really, here's what we've seen with patients at our clinic. Wow. He's now going into the scientific realm. See, he has me. He's honoring me. But he didn't jump down on my arrogance. That's a pretty arrogant statement, but that's what I really believed at the time, is that vitamins, supplements, and so on were just a waste of money. Okay, so listening, respond and validate. See, and that's what that guy did to me. He responded. Yeah, I can see why you'd say that, but this is really different. How's it different? It can be measured in the blood. Now that was interesting to me. An act of consideration is really important, being considerate. A person says, you know, I can talk with you now, but I've only got 5 minutes. Man, you're out of there in 4.5 minutes. You're going to honor him with an attitude of consideration. Or if he says, I'd like to talk to you, but I got to make a call first. You don't say, well, we can do this. I'll be real fast. No, you say, okay, you want me to wait outside? You're always being considerate of their needs. A full perspective. You don't want to just know your perspective. You want their perspective. You want other people's perspective. Most people don't realize that 85% of all heart attacks can be avoided with just a few modifications in their behavior. Did you know that? Behavior and diet. 85%. And yet most people don't do it. See, so we want a full perspective. A thorough preparation. You honor a person when you go in truly prepared. You know your stuff. You know what you're going to say. You know how you're going to say it. You're not going to hem and haw. You're not going to be easily distracted or diverted. You're going to know how to get back to the core issue and so on. A thorough preparation is really critical. In our next session, we're going to look at the 9 barriers to communication. When you go to communicate with somebody, the moment you show up, there are 9 walls that can stand in your way of effective communication. So we're going to look at those walls. We're going to look at what you can do to get around them, over them, through them, blow them up. But we'll look at those walls. So that's coming up next.